Welcome to Dirt Diaries, the podcast where the women of agriculture get real. From muddy boots to boardrooms, we're digging into the unfiltered stories of the farmers, ranchers, and every her shaping the future of ag. This isn't just shop talk, it's real talk. We're covering career paths, big wins, hard lessons, and everything in between. So whether you live it every day or you're just ag curious, pop in your earbuds and get ready. These are the raw, inspiring, and wildly relatable conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Let's dig in. Today's guest is someone I first met at last year's CattleCon in San Antonio. I got to speak with her on the FarmHER RanchHER Making an Impact panel at NCBA, and I've been following her ever since. If you don't know her already, I can't wait to introduce you to Anna Kobza. I loved catching up with Anna, and let me tell you, if you think you've had a busy year, wait until you hear what she's been up to. Spoiler alert, she planned a wedding, got married, tackled a major research trial, all while wrapping up her PhD in feedlot nutrition. Anna digs into how she got swept away by the data, feed yards, and science of cattle nutrition. And we talk about her unconventional path into agriculture, as well as how that clean slate perspective has allowed her to educate consumers. Anna reminds us that ranch life is both romantic and real. So settle in for this fun, insightful, and refreshingly honest convo. Let's get dirty with Anna. Another episode of Dirt Diaries. We're digging in with Anna. Oh my gosh, I've got to talk to you. I mean, I feel like I always get to talk to you at NCBA. We always have you on, obviously, Market Day Report and things like that. But we got to do a panel this year, which was super fun. But man, you've had some life changes since I saw you earlier this year. Kind of fill us in on everything that's transpired for you.
Yeah, we packed as much into a year, I feel like, as we possibly could. So got married just a few weeks ago. It was a wonderful day. We went on a little honeymoon. Recently wrapped up a very big research trial, which has been great. We've been doing home renovations.
Oof.
I kind of feel like I've been riding a stress high for several months, and now I'm just like, I just plummeted. So now life's a little more relaxed. Can focus on the home reno a little bit more. So yeah, it's been a crazy year, and I'm trying to finish school, and we're getting down to the wire. So yeah, there's been lots that's been going on.
I mean, again, when we were talking on the panel and you were talking about planning a wedding, going to school, all the things, I mean, I can't believe you've threw in a home renovation on top of that. Hey, love it. You know what? Sometimes you just got to mix it all in a bowl and hope it turns out right?
Exactly,
Bake the right cake. Okay, so for our viewers who are listening to Dirt Diaries and watching on YouTube, Rural Radio, on our podcast platforms, give them a little insight to who you are, because obviously I know you, and I feel like most of our viewers know you, but the ones that are new, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Anna Kobza. I am a Nebraska native. I was born here. I'm currently living here. So I was born in a small town in eastern Nebraska. And I work in agriculture now, obviously, but I didn't necessarily grow up in that industry. I was very involved in 4-H when I was little, showed horses, then eventually got interested in the cattle, eventually joined FFA, had an untraditional route of getting here. But as soon as I left high school, I went to school at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I got my bachelor's in animal science. And from there, I decided that a career in agriculture, a career in animal science specifically, was something I wanted to pursue. And so I knew I wanted to pursue more professional, upper level education. And so I went to West Texas A&M to get a master's, and I studied feedlot nutrition there. I know originally when I was starting to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my graduate career, I thought maybe I was more interested in the cow-calf side of things. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do feedlot for a master's and cow-calf for a PhD or something like that. And I moved to Texas and I started my master's, and I just kind of fell in love with the cattle feeding sector of our industry and loved it so much that when I finished there, I came back to Nebraska, and now I'm wrapping up my PhD, also studying feedlot nutrition. So, right now I've got about a year left of that before I'm done, and then hopefully finding a job next year as a consulting feedlot nutritionist. So there's a lot of new changes that are still about to happen in the next year, which is really exciting, but also really nerve-wracking.
Yeah. I mean, you are such a great advocate for the industry. I always love when you tell your story of just, kind of finding your path and your place in this industry and what that looks like and kind of making your own path, I should say. Um, what made you decide to switch to the feedlot? I don't know if I've ever actually asked you that.
I just when I was first kind of exploring, I didn't grow up, so I didn't really have. I thought cow calf was just what I wanted to do
Hmm.
because I kind of grew up around that a little bit more, like family, friends, and neighbors who were involved in it. So I hadn't really been super exposed to the cattle feeding industry, although my grandpa was a cattle feeder, but I just never saw it in its heyday. So
Yeah.
but I moved to Texas, and they have the graduate students there. They run the feedlot, so they're there every day, feeding, doctoring, making feed, starting trials, all that stuff. So we were there every day running the feed yard, and I think I just kind of fell in love with the routine of it, and also just from a research and data standpoint, there's so much information that you get to know in a feed yard setting with actual quantifiable data that you don't get to know as much on a cow calf side because you're feeding them every day. You know exactly how much you're feeding them. You know exactly what you fed them. There's just so much information that and I think I love that knowledge because that knowledge is so much power when it comes to finding solutions and solving problems and things like that. So I don't know. I just kind of fell in love with the day to day routine. It's both an art and a science. I like to say there's science behind it, but there's also a little bit of just you kind of got to have a feel for what you're doing that I love.
Yeah. That's fun. I mean, just another sector of obviously the industry that is super important,
Hmm.
obviously, to everything that we do. A part of this also I always like to bring up is you do social media. You're a great advocate slash influencer for our industry on social media. Kind of take us back to and give our listeners a little, I don't know, snippet of what made you interested in posting about this lifestyle, sharing stories of this lifestyle, and also educating people on it.
Yeah. So it was an undergrad. I joined this program. It was a somewhat new program at the University of Nebraska called the Angler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program, which was designed to help students build real businesses. And so I kind of just joined it on a whim, not really certain that I wanted to start a business, but maybe potentially wanting to do so. I thought maybe it would just be a good program to be involved in. And so I got a scholarship to join this program. In it, I kind of decided that, okay, if I'm going to build a business, I wanted it to be something that revolved around ag education in some capacity because I went to a private school and we didn't have an ag education program. We didn't have an FFA program. And so I knew that I wanted to somehow try and fill that gap in more both urban and rural communities where ag education programs lacked. And I also noticed just through my involvement in our local 4-H, we were really seeing down numbers in our county fair as far as like exhibitor entries in the beef barn and the horse barn. It was just really sad, and I wanted to find a way to kind of somehow merge ag education with ag experiences to kind of um, follow my passion and build a business surrounded around that. And ultimately, I just kind of couldn't figure out how to monetize what I wanted to do. And so that's when I kind of just turned to social media. I remember just starting an Instagram account one day and thinking, okay, I'll just start posting. I had no niche. I didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go with it. I just kind of started posting, and it was very much general ag education in general. And I was learning a lot of these things myself at the time and just kind of sharing what I was learning as I was getting my feet wet in the industry. And then it wasn't really until I started my master's that it really evolved and grew. I was able to share what I was doing every day at the feed yard, and that kind of caught people's attention, and people really liked that. So I kind of figured out that I could fill a niche by posting content related to the cattle feeding industry specifically because there were so many people who were coming online that were great advocates in the cow calf sector, in the row crop sector,
Hmm.
allied industries, you name it. But there really was a lack of representation for the cattle feeder. And so I decided that was a gap that I could fill because it was what I knew most about and what I had the opportunity to share every day. And so that's kind of where it has led to and still very prominent today on my page, obviously. But I also share a lot of ranching content. My husband's family ranches in the sand hills of Nebraska. So obviously opportunities to share what that looks like for me as well. And so, yeah, it's kind of, I've been thinking about a lot about it lately is how it's going to evolve in the future as I no longer a student, get a job. move back to the ranch, but I think what I love the most about it is that people get to follow along with your journey as your life changes and your jobs change and just your content evolves. It's kind of fun to get to mix it up.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit more because I do think that's interesting as your life is going into maybe a different season, wrapping up, another season of life. Obviously, I know you're still in school, but when you do go back to the ranch, do you think that really will change and like kind of exposing people to your day to day? I mean, will you want to still do that or?
Well, that's a good question and something I've thought a lot about. I think I still will want to do it. I think ultimately it depends on what my life looks like in my job.
Mhm.
Consulting nutritionists spend a lot of time on the road, so maybe it's more of sharing what my life looks like as a consulting nutritionist than ranching content, or maybe I spend more time on the ranch than I think. Um, I don't know quite yet. I'm kind of
Yeah.
uncertain what that's going to look like, but I imagine myself continuing to share on social media, but maybe kind of sharing a little bit more about what my life is like as a consulting nutritionist because I can't really think of anybody that does that. And I think that's an interesting little niche part of our industry that people don't get to see or that even they know exists in our
Yeah. And I think that's super important. Again, every time that we've got to speak, you're just highly educated and you're just well versed on so many things and topics in our industry. And I just really always appreciate the knowledge that you share, not only on social media, but in person. And I know this might be weird, but at NCBA or things like that, people come up to you, they want to talk to you, they don't know you. Is that another part of social media that you didn't know might happen? People feel like they know you because of your pages.
Yeah, and I never really know how to respond because I always just feel like I'm just another person who just randomly decided to start posting on social media one day. Like I'm not worthy of this attention. I don't deserve it. But it is fun because I do get to meet people and make little connections. And people are there's never been a bad interaction. They've all been super positive and really fun. So I do appreciate when people do that though because then it feels like I actually get to know my community a little more than just through the screen.
Yeah. Have you ever had any negative or backlash from posting things?
All the time, and it
I was
depends.
like, how do you handle that?
Uh, it just depends what I'm posting about.
Mm,
And yeah, I recently posted something that struck a chord with some people, and it's not. I wouldn't say that majority of the time it's not bad. It's usually just a few, but it's really easy when you're trying to go through all the comments and DMs and stuff to be like, oh my gosh, there's so much bad. But when you zoom out, it's really a small percentage of it. But I also think it's good to have some of that mixed in there because otherwise it just becomes an echo chamber and not necessarily somewhere where we can make progress with people. Um, so how I handle it, it depends who it's coming from and how it makes me feel. Really, sometimes there are people that are just kind of wanting to push the boundaries a little bit and have a conversation. Um, and I'm totally open to engaging in discussion as long as people are just as kind and respectful. um, but some of them, they make you want to defend your industry, right? And so some of them like
yeah.
they trigger like an emotional response where you're like, "Ah, that made me upset. I feel attacked." And those I know when I read some of those and they make me feel a certain way, I know that like I need to sit on this for a little while. I need to sleep on it overnight and then I can come back at it the next day with a more clear and a level head. And then the next day, I might figure out that okay, well, maybe this comment's not worth responding to because they're just trying to troll you. They don't want to have a conversation. And I should say those comments more often than not they don't always come from people outside of our industry. It's
Yeah.
from
Sometimes it's from within, right?
that have a very differing opinion, which is fine. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's all outsiders. There's a lot of within the industry uh, disagreement.
Yeah. And that's always, I don't want to say, it's just hard because you try not to take it personal
Mhm.
because everyone does things differently and everyone promotes things differently or educates differently or exposes certain situations or practices in different light. And some people don't understand that or don't want to. And it makes it hard on you as a person, I feel like. Even though it isn't personal, at some point it does feel personal.
It does. You think about it a lot. You just have a lot of vested interest in it, and yeah. And I'm someone who gets I take it personal all the time, and it's like it's not personal. Just you got to just let it go and do what you can.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget, we've laughed about it one year in a far, and a lady came on and kind of talked about what I was wearing and just like did these nasty comments, like I think on the network's Instagram page. And I was like, so I'm like, I always try to dress like so like, or just like, that's one thing I really care about is my fashion, and I, like, make sure I put my best foot forward, and I don't know, that really, they're like, "It's day 3, we've got 7 more rounds, like, you gotta let that go," and I'm like, "I can't let it go." I mean, I went and rethought my whole wardrobe for, like, all the next days, and I'm like, "What do I care what" her name's not Jan, by the way, but I'm gonna say Jan from Idaho is saying to me, like, she's just watching on TV, and she's allowed and entitled to her opinion, but dang, Jan, you kinda
And
frazzled me, jeez. Anyways, okay. Well, we're going to switch things now, and we are going to start with a game, and it's called Break the Ice. But let's just kick it off right now with a habit you have, whether it's weird, different, interesting. What's one of your habits that you have that some people are like, "Huh, what a habit, what a strange one."
oh gosh, interesting habits. Kane would probably be a great person to ask for this because I'm sure he'd think
I
of.
know
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Hey, maybe ask my spouse," or
Um, I have, well, he hates this. I have a very bad habit of on the weekends, and I'm sure this is not unique to me, but I cannot rest and relax until everything has a place and is clean from the week. Just like I need a spotless place before I can even sit down, before I can have my coffee. Like I need to know that this place is clean before I can sit down and relax, or else it's just gonna bug me, and I feel like I can't enjoy my weekend.
I bet that's interesting during home renovations. I mean, I don't even know what you're all doing, but I mean,
Yeah,
seems like it's always a mess
thankfully
when
we're
there's
not
home.
living in that place yet.
Oh, okay.
But, uh, yeah, but it will still be being by the time we do move in, we will still be renovating, so yeah, that will be interesting. I may have
I feel like
to
I'm gonna tackle that when that happens.
come to grips with that, yeah.
What's a guilty pleasure of yours?
A guilty pleasure of mine. Oh, let's see. Actually, I really love doing solo dates. If Kane is ever out of town traveling, I like to go get dinner by myself, get a cocktail, and go to bed early. That's kind of my ideal thing. Because he does quite a bit of traveling for his job, and so I've got to kill time in my own way, and so I go on little solo dates.
What's your go-to cocktail?
Well, I love a dirty martini, but
Ooh,
I just love a classic margarita.
yeah,
Those are probably my two go-tos, just depending on the vibe.
I like that. I think solo dates are healthy though, especially when both people in a relationship are constantly going different directions. It's nice to come together, and then but it's nice to have the you time.
Yeah, it is. It's just
It's
fun. I'm like, I
needed.
just get to sit and people watch, and that's fun in and of itself.
People watching, that is my guilty pleasure probably. Okay, favorite condiment that you use in excess?
Probably homemade ranch. I like ranch, but I like to make homemade ranch because it just tastes so much better. So I use a lot of ranch.
Mm, homemade ranch. Look at where do you have the time to make homemade ranch?
I don't know, but
You
it's
find it, I'm sure. Something you wish you were better at.
Well, one thing I am wanting to do more of and get better at is my husband's did a lot of cow horse stuff in high school, and I would love to start doing that, which obviously takes a lot more time and commitment to get into that. But that is something I would love to get better at and to do more of is do some cow horse stuff.
When you are out at the feedlots, do you ride a lot? I mean, are you horseback a lot?
So I haven't had to because typically when I'm at our research facilities, we're starting trials, and most of that's shoot side work that we're doing. So if anybody's helping with us with horses, the cowboys have it covered to help us push cattle or whatever like that.
That
So
makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. Um, a hidden talent of yours.
Hmm. Hidden talent. Let's see. Gosh, these are so hard.
I know Jenna and Holly put them together. I'm like, I couldn't even answer these. I'm glad I am the one asking the questions.
Let's see. I'm actually a really good baker and a pretty decent cook when I get the time to do it. I actually really enjoy doing that. So I'm kind of a foodie. I really enjoy doing that stuff when I get the time to kind of make up stuff and play with new recipes and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're making homemade ranch, I'm assuming you probably can do a lot in the kitchen. Jealous of that. Um, days get busy, they get long. I know your days aren't always the same, but what's kind of your least favorite part of the day?
I hate that lull after lunch where I'm just like, there's like 4 more hours to this day. I don't want to do this. That's probably my least favorite part of the day. I'm a morning productivity person. The afternoon, I have a really hard time getting stuff.
I feel that. Something that makes you laugh, even though it might be silly to others or silly to your husband or your family.
I have a pretty dry sense of humor. So I feel like I enjoy a lot of television like that he doesn't. I'm trying to think specifically that makes me laugh. I don't know. I just have a pretty dry sense of humor. So I love I love The Office. Like he thinks
Oh, yeah.
it's dry. I think it's hilarious. Like I don't know anything that's super dry. I usually find pretty funny. And I usually connect with people who have a dry sense of humor. We just kind of get along a lot better. It's fun.
I get that. One thing people may be surprised to know about you. You're like, I actually hate social media. No, I'm just kidding.
Someday, yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I think some people are surprised that I didn't grow up in ag. If they haven't been following me from the beginning, they may not know that, and they might be surprised by that. That may be one thing. Um, I feel like a lot of people, as my life has evolved, a lot of people have gotten confused along the way, like what I'm doing with my life and where I'm at. Because if they joined at a different time, they're like, "Wait, what is she doing?" And it doesn't make sense. Like sometimes I'm at the ranch, sometimes I'm at school in Lincoln, and yeah, I think people get confused along the way. But I think probably it's just that I didn't grow up in the industry is sometimes shocking to people.
I know I've got to ask you this question before, but again, anybody listening or watching who don't know this about you, I always think it's interesting your response to this. Not growing up in this industry, do you think it's helped or hurt? Or what's
Yeah,
that been like?
I think initially I thought it was going to be a big hindrance to me and that I was going to be way behind everybody. And I've learned along the way that that's not at all the case. I think it actually it gives you a really good perspective because you see things a little differently. You don't you don't have all these pre-existing biases that influence your way of thinking. So I've kind of said that like when I went to college, I was this clean slate to be impressed upon, and so like I was learning all this new knowledge, and it was really great because I could be really accepting of a lot of it without being like, well, that's not the way that my grandpa and my grandma did it, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's been a big help actually. I used to think it was a hindrance, but I've since as I've grown and evolved, I think it's been a benefit for me.
What do you attribute to you being such like a self-starter, self-motivator, just go-getter kind of person?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, my older sister is big in astrology, and she would tell you there's some house in my astrology that makes me a big self starter and motivator. I think part of it too is having a husband who's also that way. We kind of fuel that for each other. But you know, I think initially for me, it's that fact that I don't want to spend the rest of my life working for somebody else. So there's just kind of this inner desire to not have to answer to anyone for the rest of my life. So that's kind of probably the biggest push for me is it's just a personal desire for flexibility and freedom that makes me
Hmm.
want to self start and be on my own.
With that flexibility and freedom, what's something you do or would like to do then in your free time?
Mm-hmm.
When if you get that ever. I mean, I know you don't really have much of it right now.
You know, I don't know how I'm gonna make this work when we move out to the ranch, but like right now, like I love to join volleyball and sand volleyball leagues. We like to go play pickleball. I like to do like just sports and things like that. But you know, I'd also like to spend more time writing and just learning how to be better at some of those things, roping, all those things. Those are definitely things that I would do in my free time, as well as just, you know, Kane and I both like to travel. So go see some new places, whether it's US or across the ocean. But
Yeah, do you have a trip, like a bucket list place that you'd love to visit?
I would love to go to, you know, like Ireland, Scotland. I think those would be really fun. Kane and I would like to go back to Africa. We went there,
Cool.
and safari was so fun. I want to go again. It was amazing. So we would love to go back there.
Wait, that sounds amazing.
It
I bet
was
that was a great experience.
it was the coolest thing I have ever done. It was yeah.
Oh, I just again always scroll and see pictures and it looks fantastic. If you could participate on one reality TV series, what would that be?
Gosh, I've gotten really bad at keeping up with all of them. I used to watch The Bachelor quite a bit, and I haven't since done that. I haven't
Yeah, it
gotten
might be bad if you tried to participate on that now. That
yeah,
might get a
no,
little
that one's
weird.
bad. I'm trying to think of all the reality TV
Yeah,
shows.
there's like American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, Fear Factor.
Ooh, Dancing with the Stars would be fun.
I
That
think
would be
so
fun.
too.
I love watching that one. I think I would probably be terrible. It seems so hard. Kane and I actually took some dancing lessons recently for fun, and we were learning like the foxtrot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like the things that they learn in just like a week. I'm like, that's insane.
Did you
So
guys
I
do
think
the foxtrot for your first dance?
we did. It was really fun. So it was fun to learn something new.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we may continue to kind of just go take some dance lessons for fun just to learn some new stuff. But yeah, dancing
Yeah.
with Stars, that's a good one.
Um, if you could be an animal for a day, what animal would you be?
Hmm. You know what? So I have two cats and they live the life. Like they got nothing to worry about. So I think if I could be reincarnated, I would be an indoor cat for some girl because just they cannot possibly have a care in the world. They live the best life.
You're like, these cats, let me tell you, they're lucky. We always say that too. Growing up, I showed cattle and stuff, and especially in the state of California, people just, which I mean, it's a big agriculture state. We're a farming family, ranching, all the things. But I'm like, trust me when I tell you, these cattle, they get more bath showers than I do as a human being. Like they're taken care of way better.
They are
And people, some people didn't understand. And I grew up in a rural area and they didn't even know when I went to school. I got to a point where I was like, oh, we're just out of town again. They're like, gosh, Kirby's never at home. And then when I went to college, they're like, I don't know, she's doing some Angus Princess stuff. And I was like, that I'm at a cattle show in Louisville, Kentucky. But Angus Princess, same, it's whatever. Same thing. It's fine. Okay, this game's called Creative or Cowboy. So I'll give you a task or a phrase, and if you handle it more like a creative thinker or a cowboy with a get it done mindset, that's how you answer it. So yeah, creative or cowboy. So planning content.
I'd say creative.
Okay. Do you schedule your content?
Not really. Can I just do it on a whim as things come to me? Because yeah, my creativity definitely ebbs and flows. So like when it's flowing, I write stuff down, and I don't necessarily plan it, but I just know like, okay, I'll come back to this when I'm in a dry spell and I need to do something.
It's a word of advice right there. That's good. Fixing fence.
Probably cowboy.
Tackling a new project.
Probably cowboy.
Choosing outfits.
Creative.
Because I feel like you're into fashion. I feel like you like.
Oh yeah, and I love
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like you have to be creative if you are a broke grad student and you need to kind of create a new outfit with the same stuff in your closet. So I've been trying to be better at that lately, challenge myself to mix it up within the stuff I already have.
Jumping in to help during calving season.
A cowboy.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, you're a mixture of cowboy and creative anyways. This game is called Ranch Her Reality Check. So I'll give you a scenario and then you give the real story, no filters, no fluff. Get as, raw as you'd like. Um, when you've had a full day and still have to check cattle, what's kind of something that's really unfolded for y'all? Is there a story behind any of that with your in-laws, your husband, anybody?
Say the question again. Let me make sure I'm hearing it right.
Well, if you've had it's been a long day, you guys have gathered cattle, you're checking cattle, just kind of a stressful thing. Like, has there ever been a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I know I like this lifestyle. I know I'm ingrained in it, but especially doing it with the in-laws or, your husband now.
I mean, I can probably think of this has probably happened on more than one occasion where, in the summertime, you're moving cattle out to grass. And the way they do it is, in the summertime, you're moving everything to the farthest parts of the ranch so that in the wintertime, they come closer and closer as you get to calving season. And so, it's about 10 miles to the farthest end of the property. And, just in the summertime, using your horses, you're riding several miles, and then it's already a long day. And then you get on your horse and you just have to think, oh my God, I have to ride all the way back. And I don't, when I'm out there, I'm not on a horse every day when I'm here in Lincoln. I'm like,
It's a workout if you
my butt
haven't.
is
Yeah.
so sore. It hurts so bad. I'm like, I do not want to get up on this thing and ride all the way home because this guy knows it's going to take a couple hours. That's probably the biggest thing. It's like it's so fun when you get out there in the morning, like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like it's such a nice day. I'm out riding, and then at the end of the day, it's like I would kill to have a four-wheeler right now.
Yeah, you're like, please, please. We recently went and shot a rancher episode at Jacqueline Wilson's in the Sandhills. And I hadn't spent any time in the Sandhills before. It was so beautiful. I thought it was beautiful. It was great. But we thankfully got to gather and we just moved some cattle, but different pastures. But there's just a lot of country out there to cover. And we did it with ATVs and I was like, and UTVs, and I was like, thank God.
Well, and like you
Bless
think
you.
like, okay, it doesn't look that far, but like we're going up and down hills, like we're covering all that much more surface area. It's like, oh man, it's like three times as far as it looks.
Even on that ATV, like, it was kind of a workout because I was, like, standing up and down. I was like, "Whew," but, I mean, and the weather, in the mornings, it was nice and brisk,
Right.
which, again, it's beautiful. It is great, and then
Yeah.
by the end of the day, you're like, "Oh, is it time to get home? I need to crack open a beer after that,
Having
or
a hard time
several."
appreciating the view.
Yeah. Okay, when your outfits looked cute, but you've ended up covered in mud, has there ever been a situation like that?
I have a habit of wearing the wrong shoes. I think like, okay, I'm not gonna get dirty. Like just going out real quick, and then it's always like my white shoes or like sandals or something like that, and then somehow you end up stepping in, feces or mud or something like that. It's probably footwear for me that is the biggest challenge. Never necessarily my entire outfit, but there has been occasions where we do a lot of things in research with cannulated cattle and like collecting rumen fluid, and that is a stench that is very very hard to get rid of. And there has been an occasion or two where when they cough, if you're not prepared for it, it comes out at you, and that has happened a couple times, and that is terrible.
Oof, I bet the smell is
You don't want to know.
rancid. Oh, oh. No, thank you. How about this? Because again, going back to social media a little bit, people, they feel like they know you, and it's an endearing thing, but it's also like, man, this is a snippet of really what takes place, kind of. So when there's been a day that looks peaceful or just so spectacular on the gram, but chaos is happening behind the scenes, or you're just not even feeling up to, you're like, oh, I'm posting this, and you're having a crummy day.
Yep. It's probably the last 8 months in particular that have been really stressful and just really heavy load on the research side of things. And so honestly, it's been a lack of my presence on social media, but behind the scenes, while I was posting, like I like to post fun monthly like photo recaps or photo dumps and things like that of the month. But it's like behind the scenes, I'm tired, I'm drained, I'm overworked, I'm stressed out, like planning a wedding, like things got really hairy there for a minute. You just get tired of making all these decisions and spending money. This particular project we're doing and that we're doing again next year, it takes a lot of people. So I've had to learn how to manage a lot of people, which is so much harder than I thought. It's been the hardest part of my job, bar none. The research is challenging, but managing the people, the undergrads, has been a really hard part of my job. It's been both rewarding, but also really disheartening sometimes. So, yeah, we were doing a very big project where, we have cattle under 24-hour watch. And so I was like on call every day, every other week. And so, just not sleeping well at night because I'm worried about somebody calling me at 3 a.m. saying something's happening, I need help, and I have to go be on campus helping figure that out. So, I would say the last 8 months are probably a pretty good representation of that. Just showing up, but behind the scenes, very, very stressed.
Yeah. Um, when you mentioned disheartening right now, can you talk about that a little bit more? Is there like ever days where you're just like, man, I do love this industry. I love this lifestyle. I'm happy with the path I've chosen to go down, but you could be doing something easier.
Mhm.
You really could.
For sure. Well, I mean, so we on campus with this trial, we bring animals in and out of this building for research from our research feedlot. And this, thankfully, I've only had two instances that this has happened, and I say only because there's been 140 animals that have come in and out in the last year. Um, we had an animal that went down that the vet diagnosed as like a twisted gut, and not a reversible outcome without surgery. And even if you tried surgery, not a guaranteed good outcome. And so that's just kind of stuff where it's like, it just sucks because I can't do anything to help. And so at that point, you have to make the decision: do I let this animal suffer? Do I have to euthanize? So like those days are not fun days, and especially when you have undergrads around as well. They don't always love or receive that stuff well. So just kind of help trying to manage their feelings as well was a challenge, but
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff happens. Thankfully, it's been pretty minimal, but it's just like, man, that sucks. Like, I didn't do anything. I can't do anything. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. What's the percentage of undergrads that kind of go into this field? Do a lot of them stay in it, or do they kind of
That's a
pick a
good
different
question.
career path?
So I have, during the school year, I had 15 undergrads helping me out.
Wow.
As far as whether or not they go into grad school, it's probably a pretty small percentage. There may be, I think I have two that want to go to vet school and like maybe one that wants to go to grad school. So it's maybe pretty low. They're just kind of want an undergrad position that's kind of in the animal science realm. But it's probably pretty low the amount that wants to go to grad school, and maybe maybe the research deters them from grad school. I don't know,
They're like,
but
I thought I wanted to do that, but maybe not.
yeah, it's not quite what you thought it was. So yeah, but it's probably pretty small. But I do have lots of undergrads that help me out, so um, they're I would not have gotten through the last several months without all of their help. So they're super helpful. I'm super grateful for them.
Yeah, well, that is great. But like you mentioned, managing people, I think that's always something that people overlook.
Mhm.
You hear that from certain leaders and different
Mhm.
positions that companies always talk about. They're like, the hardest part of my job is having to manage people and their expectations.
Yep, it's hard.
Um, when you try to explain ranch life to someone who's never lived it, like what's that like? I mean, again, we go back to this. I've been saying it the whole time, but you've done it even into the NCBA crowd because everybody's ranch life looks a little different as well. What's that been like for you when you out in public, whether you're out in the city or at school or anything, when you're explaining ranch life to somebody? I mean, what do you say?
Yeah, it's hard to know where to start because you don't know how much somebody else knows, and so like I never want to insult anybody's intelligence, but I don't want to also like go way above their heads. Sometimes it's hard to have that conversation and know where to start. I'm generally kind of let them. I kind of like poke the questions at them, and then like figure out, okay, like what do they want to know? Like where should I start this thing? And generally, it's pretty easy to talk through like what happens on the ranch. There's different seasons. You breed your cows, you have calves, you sell your calves, and then it becomes a question of where did the calves go, and then it leads into a discussion about the entire remainder portions of our industry, the feeding, and then the packing, and then the retailing, and all that stuff. So I find I probably get more questions on after the like where do calves go, and then what does that look like, which I'm always happy to answer those questions. I'm always hesitant of what the response might be, which is maybe just a little bit pessimistic of me. But I'm just always scared about what their reaction and response is going to be to the remainder of our food system after the ranch.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, a day in the life for you. I mean, obviously, like we already said, it looks different, but with you and your husband, when, you know, it's just completely unfiltered, when it's just maybe you set the phone down. I don't know. You might turn on The Office, but maybe not. Um, how do you unwind? Like, how do you really just take a minute and like just really enjoy this life that you're getting to live?
I really like to, in the mornings, especially now that things have slowed down a little bit, we really like to get up and go for like a morning walk together most of the time. That's a really good way to start my day. Make coffee, have breakfast. I love to have a slow morning if I can. That really sets up my day really well. And then coming home and unwinding. Usually for me, it looks like just making dinner, sitting down on the couch together. Watching TV, or like the other night we went and played pickleball for fun. Just kind of finding little things to do, um, not waiting for the weekend to do things necessarily, just finding little things to do within our weeknight that are really fun. Or sometimes we'll go for an evening walk if we didn't go for a morning walk or something like that. So and then I also I have some plants on my little porch. I like to play with my plants, water around, look at
Yeah.
them, prune them, all that stuff. I enjoy doing that. But yeah.
Well, speaking about this, like with you and your husband, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of the details of the wedding, and is there, and I mean, now you're married. I mean, are there any changes? I mean, and what was like the wedding planning like? Was he super involved? Was it all
Mhm.
you, even though you both are busy? What did that look like?
Yep. It's kind of hard because we did a lot of the main stuff last fall, and
Hmm.
then it was like, okay, now that things are getting closer, like in, I don't know, I'd say April, Kane went home to help with calving season. So it's kind of like Kane's busy with calving season. I kind of felt like I was doing some things on my own, but I'm like, I can't expect him to figure out how to do this while he's busy at the ranch. So the I would say it was fine up until the last month and a half or so when you're trying to just kind of finalize all the things and make the schedules and the itineraries and all that stuff for people. But other than that, it was not. I probably made it more difficult on myself because I have a hard time asking for help. And it would have been great if I'd asked some people for some help on some things. Because I just tried to do everything myself. I don't want to be a burden to anybody, but ultimately that just makes you more stressed out. So I probably shouldn't have done that. That is something I would redo. But as far as like the other things, like we're sending out thank you cards now, so he's helping me write thank yous, we're splitting the load. So he's been super helpful and super involved in planning the wedding and getting things wrapped up and that kind of stuff. And he actually really cared about a lot of stuff. Like he wanted to wear a black suit or a black tux, so we wore a black tux. There's things he cared about too, for sure. And you know, it was yeah, I told you earlier, it was a 100-degree day. It was super hot. I was super stressed out. I had been watching the weather for like a month and it had looked really good for a while. And then it started to get hotter and hotter. And I was like, oh Lord. And I did not have a dress that was heat friendly. It was a big skirt. There was lots of crinoline underneath. Yeah, it was not heat friendly, but it was fun to wear nonetheless. So it was really good. There was nothing that really went wrong on our wedding day. It went so fast. I only wish that I could go back and like slow it down. We
I
did
was just
a
gonna ask, was there like a favorite moment throughout that day? Or I'm sure there's multiple, but
We honestly, so we did a tent on a golf course up in Valentine, Nebraska, and it's a beautiful tent. The company is out of South Dakota, a big canvas tent, and so it was honestly beautiful. We had some swamp coolers in there. We were trying to keep everybody cool, and honestly, Kane and I, when we got into the reception, we were gonna go eat, obviously, and I was like, you know what, let's just go eat inside the clubhouse of the golf course where there's AC and just chill out for a minute. So we got to sit down and eat dinner together just alone and just kind of like chill out for a minute, which was great. And I laugh looking back because we did not sit down at our head table once after that. We were
you're like,
either
glad we had those two spots right there.
right. I was like, we didn't sit down one time at those things. So, which is funny, but was good because then it meant we were up and having fun. We had the best band. We had so much fun with them. They were a band out of Omaha, the Downtown Collective, and oh my god, they
Oh,
were
how the name even sounds fun though.
they were so good. They super classy. They show up in like black tuxes and
Yeah.
dresses. Like they were top tier. So we were after dinner. We were and all the father daughter dances, mother son dances, all that stuff. We were on that dance floor all night long. It was so much fun. I was exhausted the next day, but we truly did have the best time.
Well, that's good because all the months leading up to just life gets busy and
Mhm.
you're, taking the next step in life and with your partner and you're like, man, you just want to enjoy some of those
Yeah,
moments.
we did. It was so fun. I wouldn't change a thing. We had a blast.
Well, good. Any weird changes since I mean, I know you guys have lived together, but like and been together, but since being married or nothing? All the same. Yeah.
Pretty much the same, other than I get to say that this is my husband instead of my fiance, which is kind of funny. But we still need to set up a bank account. Like, there's still lots of things I feel like we need to do. But I think it's just kind of realizing like, okay, now we're in it forever. So like the weight is just a little bit heavier to fight for each other.
Well put. Very well said. Okay, going back to the industry a little bit. I know we have a few more minutes on here for Dirt Diaries, but as you've come into this industry, you've done what you've done. You're going to continue to, push boundaries and make a name for yourself, but also just continue to educate people the way you do, which I know everyone is so thankful and grateful of and for. What are your hopes though? What are your hopes for yourself for the industry? Or your part in the industry, I should say, and then it's twofold. Like on the other side, where do you hope the industry goes?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first of all, I imagine myself eventually being self-employed. And that's probably my biggest hope for myself is that I can be self-employed, for my family to have the flexibility to be there for them when I want to be, go places that I want to go, get off the ranch when I want to. But I think I also really want to give back to my rural community, the industry in our community as well. I think about what the people who did things for me when I was first starting and just how grateful I am for what they did for me, helping me get started. That I want to do that for somebody else. So that's really important to me, and something I want to do in the future when I have the means to do so. And then also, where I see it going, I think, it's hard right now, just how expensive everything is and what it takes to get started. I hope that we see some change and that we do see a lot of young people either come back or people start fresh in this industry. Because I know we have a very old population of ranchers. I don't know what the average age is, upper 50s right
Yeah,
now.
I think it's like I actually think it's like early 60s or like
Yeah.
it's like
So I
crazy.
just I just want to see. I love that we're also seeing a lot of people who didn't grow up in ag kind of come into ag careers. So I hope we keep seeing that, and I hope we see a lot more people coming back, and just a lot more people starting. I hope that the industry it becomes easier to enter this industry in the future.
Yeah. One of the things when we end the show, we always like to ask somebody because we called it Dirt Diaries. And so we're like, we're digging in, we're getting dirty, just finding out a little bit more about the individual. But if you were to have a diary or a journal and either your future self or yourself right now were to read something in it that you wrote, what would you want it to say?
I think I almost wish I would have kept a diary all these years with all this stuff. I'm terrible about it, but I think I would love to look back as my older self and see if I started a diary today and I'm 80 years old, that someday looking back, I hope I get to read, about um, what life looked like starting out in grad school, starting out in a job after grad school, and how that transition changed to being self-employed, and what my day-to-day looks like on the ranch then versus in the future when I'm self-employed and maybe I have kids. One thing my mom always did when we were growing up was she kept baby books where she just wrote down funny little things we'd say or did and things like that. um, and so I hope I keep that level of detail in the rest of my life so that, when I'm 80, I can look back and remember all the stuff that I probably would have forgotten about if I just hadn't wrote it down. So probably just, the little day-to-day stuff that happened, I don't know, cows got out today and what did we do? Like, I don't know, little stuff like that. I think would be fun, just to look back on in the future.
It's the little moments that make a
Huh?
big life, right? That's what
Yep,
they always
exactly.
say. So, Anna, thank you so much. I always appreciate getting to chat with you. I'm sure it'll be, you know, NCBA next year. Again, I'll have to
Nashville.
stop you in your tracks and try to get on your calendar because you're so busy. Hopefully it'll be then. But good luck with the rest of grad school. Congrats on being a newlywed. And I can't wait to see what you do and the boundaries you push in our industry because we are so grateful and thankful to have you because you're such a tremendous leader and an advocate for everything that's going on. So thank you again.
No, thank you, Kirby. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Okay, bye. That's it for today's episode of Dirt Diaries, where the women of ag leave no story untold. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone else. Until next time, keep showing up, speaking out, and getting your hands dirty.